to introduce themselves as well.
Hello. I'm Maheshwara Kirligode from Sri Lanka. I am the secretary to the Internet Society Sri Lanka chapter and coordinator for IGF Sri Lanka and SIG School of Internet Governance Sri Lanka. I'm working in the private sector as a managing director. So I'll share my opinions, my views, my experiences with you regarding how we're going to collaborate with youth and why we need youth to be collaborated in this IG arena. Thanks.
Yeah, hi, I am good morning, and I am Aris Ignacio. I am from the Philippines, and currently I am the Dean for the College of Computer Studies in Southville International School and Colleges. I am also part of the Internet Society Philippine chapter as the Vice President for Development, and a part of the MSG of APR IGF. I would be also sharing with you some of the things that we have done, especially bringing the youth into the table. We're in discussions of the IGF with regards to the APR IGF, for that sake. So thank you.
Hi, good morning. This is David from eHelp Association. We're based in Hong Kong. Actually, we are doing the promotion on safer internet for children and the next generation. In the past year, I was engaged in the Asia region for the promotion on the youth engagement in the internet governance. Although I'm no longer really work on that area because I've left my current position to shift on the child online safety, but I would like to share my previous experience on the difficulties and also the challenges of how we can put youth to the table on engaging in the internet governance economy and also the ecosystem. There's some challenges, and I think it's interesting to put everyone on the table and by different stakeholder perspective to share and also trying to tackle those issues and to like engage the whole communities in this kind of discussion. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Bruna. Bruna Santos. I'm from Brazil, and I'm a member of the Youth Observatory, which is a special interest group of Internet Society. And the idea today is to talk about, maybe for us, to talk about how Youth Observatory has been working on the Latin America region in order to empower youth to discuss internet governance properly with its capacity building measures and also actions in the Latin America. Thank you.
For the session, we did a certain survey around the world, and we have the results. Can we have the presentation? Yeah, and we'll be sharing the results, and we'll probably be coming out with the report soon. So these are some of the results. Yeah, can you make it big? During the survey, what we could see or what we could figure out is, a lot of respondents communicated with us, and there was this difference in between the youth of developed nation and the youth of developing nation. There was a huge difference, and you could see the difference in the results. Yeah. I think on the side, you can make it big. Full screen. F5. Okay, right. The next slide. So our survey was the percentage of people above 30 were 38.3%, 50 and above people were 4.3%, and 18 to 13, we had a maximum people who attended this survey. That was 57.4%. Next slide. The count of sex was, prefer not to say 2.1%, female was 36.2%, and male was 61.7%. We wanted to, bring in more women respondent as well, but this is what we could get. And as per region, we had Asia Pacific was, from Asia Pacific we had the most respondents responding to the survey. From Middle East we had around 2, and America we had around 7, 8, and from Africa we had more than 10, and from Europe we had around 2 or 3. And this survey was done within 1 month, so the respondent numbers are very less, but we managed to secure around 50 people. So the first question that was there was, where does youth stand as a stakeholder in IG process? You could clearly see the datas, that there is a confusion whether youth should be a stakeholder, or like the choices were people voted 40% to very important, extremely important was voted for 45.5%, and they should be involved was 14.5%. So this kind of like shows the confusion, like in people of taking youth as a stakeholder. Though it is there, but still, it's not clear that counts of how do you think youth should be involved in IG process. So the indicators were policy and research, awareness, communication, networking, and next generation and all leaders. With these indicators, everybody was like so sure, and like a majority of the people voted for all. That was 60%. Next generation leaders was voted 29. The numbers are also there. So it got around 14 votes, and communication and networking was 25%, 12 people voted for it, and awareness was 13, that's 27%, and policy and research was 14.5 and 7%. So the next question was, why should youth be involved in IG process? The indicators were, they face the issues and problems, they are the next generation leaders, and they are the most vulnerable group. They face the issues and problems, scored 64.5%, so that was 31 people rated it. They are the next generation leaders, around 81.2% people voted, so that was like, we got around 39 votes for this. And they are the most vulnerable group, 43.7%, so 21 people, they voted for it. So more or less, you could see the dynamics about youth being vulnerable is recognized. At the same time, people do have the, the intentions of the next generation leaders and how important it is to bring in the youth. And you could clearly see the clash, because here this rates the top, and in the first one where we talk about stakeholder, then there is a certain difference. So the next question was, what are the challenges for youth leadership in internet governance? The indicators were lack of basic knowledge of internet core values, complicated internet politics, nepotism and favoritism, funding, limited mentality, communication and network, internet governance itself, internet policy and infrastructure, diversity, too technical, cost of internet. The indicator lack of basic knowledge of internet core values secured 72.91%. Complicated internet politics secured 62.5%. That was 30 votes. Nepotism and favoritism scored 12, so that was 0.25%. Funding was 64.58%. Limited mentality was 14.58%. Communication and networking was 37%. Internet governance itself is complicated, was 18.75%. And internet policy and infrastructure was 35.41%. Diversity 14.58%. Too technical, it's 16.66%. Cost of internet is 16.66%. So you might be quite confused in the idea of how come these have so much percentage. What we had done was we had allowed multiple options, so people were choosing, multiple options. Next slide. So the next question was, why do you think there is a limitation for youth involvement in IG process? So the indicators were lack of awareness, limited opportunity, nepotism and favoritism again, a lack of promotion of fellowship, a limited mentality, lack of communication and collaboration, lack of interest, a lack of multi-stakeholder concept. So lack of awareness scored 64.58%, limited opportunity scored 56.26%, nepotism and favoritism 25%, lack of promotion of fellowship 47.91%, limited mentality 12.5%, lack of communication and collaboration 47.91%, lack of interest 2.08%, lack of multi-stakeholder concept was 16.66%. The next question was, what should be done to promote youth engagement and involvement? So the indicators were more fellowship, so that was 35.4% secured. Better, next slide. Yeah. Better awareness campaign scored 66.66%. Collaborative approach from all sides 62.5%. Easy funding methods 54.16%. Better communication and network 64.58%. Diversity 27.08%. More online interactions 4.83%. Simplification of IG process 39.58%. So this question certainly highlights, some of the engagement roles and why there is a challenge in terms of youth. Currently, we are working on the next slide. Yeah, working on the report. If you would like to receive the report, please. There is a paper. Please give us your email address. We'll probably send it to you as soon as the IGF is over. And the findings of the survey was there was a youth gap, engagement, fellowship, coaching and mentoring program, next generation policy in internet organization, more collaboration from all sides, and diversity. So, while doing the survey and while narrating the indicators, I strongly believe the reality of the youth gap. Because a youth of a developed nation and a youth of a developing nation has different indicators, different knowledge and different mindset. So that needs to be targeted. And, and that needs to be integrated in the coaching and mentoring programs as well, especially for fellows who come out here to all these internet events, and when they go back, most of the times the engagement seems very nil. So I think coaching and mentoring needs further enhancement in promoting and in how they should use their resources, because Learn IG itself is a program that we organize, the fellows, and we have started reaching out. We have zero funding. The only thing that we have is energy. And we started reaching out to different countries in Asia, and now we stand somewhere. And we have a lot of documents. You could build something out of that. And more or less, diversity itself, because the gap needs to come down. People need to interact. And that is somewhere lacking. So I'd probably end my presentation. If you have any questions, we'll probably take the questions. And during the time frame when we are discussing, if you have a question, please do raise your hand. We will address the questions because we want to make it a more forum pattern, because we are the youth and we need to collaborate in so many ways. So we certainly want to work with you. We certainly want to inspire you, motivate you, and collaborate with you. So now we start the discussion session phase. Now I'd like to ask the panelists regarding the youth, youth challenges and problems, or if they have anything in regards to the presentation that I've made. If you have certain queries, or if you want to say something, please do say it. I would ask Aris to speak on behalf first.
Okay. Thank you, Shrideep. Okay, with regards to the presentation that you have, I think it is quite enlightening that there are some instances and some of these problems that haven't you have presented that the youth needs to know, and with regards to all of those things that needs to be taken care of for them to be able to be more involved in the IG process. So yeah, it's a very good presentation, and hopefully we could get the report sometime soon.
I would like to ask him, like, the efforts that you have been doing from your college, that you have been bringing a lot of people from your college to the APR IGF. Can you share more? Can you light more on what is going on, how you are taking the step? Because there is no funding, right? You guys are doing it on your own.
Yes.
So,
First of all, there is really no funding. Uh, we are just coordinating with Net Mission, and particularly with David, and for the start of it. What we do is that actually the way we do it is really, at first they're not really into the IG thing, because IG discussion in the Philippines, it's really in its infancy. Am I right? Am I right, G? And a lot of the students are only concerned with things such as, oh, our internet is so slow, oh, I'm having problems connecting, and so on and so forth. So it's really more of a really enlightening them on how would they be able to be on the table. Actually, it's really a funny thing to encourage. Actually, I started locally. I started in our university, and to encourage them to be able to go there on their own. Actually, I told them that it's merely first tourism. Yeah, it's my selling point, actually. It's my selling point. And out of that one, I inserted a lot of things going towards before they go home, before they go to the event itself. It's like I trained them with what IG is. Actually, one of the platforms that we utilize is the Learn IG platform, which is the one that Tridip has been promoting. And they've learned a lot from that. So at least they have an idea before they went there. And with the cooperation of NetMession, they were immersed with some of the realities with regards to the IG discussions. And they were able to immerse themselves and have a taste of it. That's why the following year, they have this urge already to come. Even though some of them are a repeater of going there, and still they have to spend on their own. And yeah, very, very, very enlightening. And I'm really very happy that they have that chance, even though they're spending it on their own, because of that rare chance to discuss the issues that they really want to tell the public. Thank you.
yeah, thank you, Eris. Now I'd like to ask Bruna to light on the topic and to share her experience about the Latin, and even with the NCUC, like the work that she has been doing and promoting a lot of youth. Yeah, Bruna.
Yeah, sorry, I forgot to mention NCC. NCC is the non-commercial users constituency inside ICON. It's one of the places for the civil society to engage with ICON if you're willing to work on the DNS, the domain name system, and also critical resources. So on the NCC side, given that it's like a civil society place, we've been trying to outreach to new voices. So especially in the Latin community, the idea has been like to show what is NCC, to show what the DNS is about, and to have people willing to volunteer and to work with us so far. And on the more broad IG point of view, being a member of the Youth Observatory has been like one of the things that have uplifted sort of my trajectory in IG. I have been working for the Brazilian government for the past year, but I was also always doing some sort of a backstage job, so I didn't get to attend the forums. So having this like great network of like fellow Latins who are also working at the same subject is like amazing. And just like we just completed our 2-year anniversary, and we have like launched this book, which is about analysis of connected youth. So we also have the same problems, like lack of funding, lack of awareness, and we've been trying to reach out to possible funders, to people who would be willing to collaborate with us. So for this book, we counted on Internet Society and SaferNet, which is a Brazilian NGO. And this is pretty much what we have been doing, working on capacity building, talking to people, showing what we are about, and this is what the LAC has been working on IG so far.
Thank you, Bruna, for sharing her experience. Now I'd request Jian, the young, the passionate, the Asian, she has been doing a lot of credible work in pushing the IG towards the young people. She is an icon, and I would like to ask her, like what her experiences are, what the real challenges are in terms of when you are dealing with you young people, because if you look at the table right now, there are a lot of we consider ourselves youth, but like not the age. So we have to accept that and move forward. So please.
So just echoing what Aris and Bruna said, actually the problem is also having like young people who are actually interested in internet governance issues, and because in Hong Kong, like not a lot of young people are also interested in internet governance, and usually they would just focus on like things that are closer to them, like social media or something. So one of the problems is actually encouraging people who are not young people who are not from technical backgrounds to join the initiative. And personally, I am not from a technical background as well. And so that's one of the challenges. And of course, there's also, funding problems that we have to look for fundings ourselves. And sometimes for young people, it's difficult because we don't have a lot of, experience, so-called experience behind us. So we have to show that, we can do this, what we can do and what we can give back to the people who support us. So that's...
Thank you, Jian. I think that gives us the light to understand young people more, though we do feel it inside that, the need still. The reality is we have to accept, because as dynamic as the internet is, the youth, like they're born with mobile phones. So we have to understand, we have to take that step. So now I would like to request David to talk about his initiatives and what he is doing and what challenges he feels. And please, if you have any question, please say your name and raise your hand. Please feel free to ask us questions, or if there is anything that is happening in your country, we would love to hear it. We would love to collaborate. Thank you. Please, David.
Hi. Actually, I'm now doing some promotion on safer internet for the next generation, mainly based in Hong Kong, by bringing in a network of InHope that tackles those child abusive content online. But on this sense, I would like to highlight a very important point is, as we have all mentioned about lack of interest of students and children nowadays on the internet governance issue. I do think that it's very important to raise the awareness on the digital citizenship of the next generation nowadays. Actually, this is how they can behave online. On this area, I do think internet governance engagement is one of the means to make our next generation participate in the process, and they would be building the sense of belongings on how they can bring real emphasis to the situation on this sense. But regarding some challenges in the sense is, of course, I think all the panels all agree is they do not know about internet governance. There is a platform for them to really engage in the policy discussion. No matter how it's on the area, they just like focus on social media and playing the computer games all the day. That's the reality. But on the other hand, is it possible to like integrate those ideas they can engage in the process in a curriculum in the schools, or for the schools to promote it since a very young age about the concept of they can really participate in process. So I do think education is one of the method, and also putting that into the regular curriculum of every countries, I do think is a way to tackle the problems. On the other hand I do think for trainers is another very important models that we can adopt. Right now, I do see, for example, lab mission and also youth observatory and also some others partners for the youth group. They have engaged in the internet governance discussion. They have already been the leaders of the internet governance discussion nowadays. So what they can do next, or what we can do next, is bring our knowledge back to our community, be the leaders and be the trainers, to influence to our peers. So I do think, although there is a lot of challenges to bringing the community to the global discussion, but how about on the other way around, we can just go back to our community and go back to the local level to do the work. Trainers is a way to I think is probably some probabilities on these kind of areas. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Reality is, there are a lot of open forums and, discussion groups where where it's like, it's open. But the thing is, youth are lacking. It's basically when we talk about funding or opportunity, it's there. It is there, but it is not coming out. So what do you feel is the problem? As we listed down, there were some issues. It is technical, yes, we do consider it's technical, but what should be done to make it more focused in terms of how we can generate awareness and how we can reach at, grassroots level? So, if any of you could feel free to talk about this issue.
Just waiting in for a second. I was thinking about what David was saying, and thinking also about the ICANN community, especially. The ICANN community is one of the communities in which volunteering is very necessary, and people are people are again facing some problems of volunteering burnout. So you have like the more established community members who are no longer willing or are tired of working with this like special subject. And we have this gap in which you have the fellowship program, you have the Next Gen program, and you have like the more established community members, and there's like nothing in between, because like they don't quite want to engage with the youth, because they also see us as like not as if we didn't know the subject well, as if we were some like professional travelers. So yeah. And also, I really have problem. I have like this huge problem with this prejudice that we often encounter as like young people joining communities. So at least I don't like being seen as a professional traveler or someone who's not willing to work with the team. So this would be like this first problem that I would like to highlight.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you, Bruna, maybe ICANN is like more wiki focused. So is it because of the user friendliness, like the issues, people are not that friendly. So.
Well, I don't know. I don't really know. It's like internet governance for itself is already a hard subject. So us Brazilians, we find ourselves so proud of like multi-stakeholderism, but still it's hard to engage Brazilian youth on the subject. So it's not that the community is hard, it's more of a problem of the subject on itself. So I'll take it.
I think we have a question.
Okay, I'm Rita Chaudhary from India. Just 2 or 3 points, rather, I would say. One, when we're looking at internet governance, it's a big it's a vast issue, and ICANN's mandates are quite limited to just names and numbers. So there are only certain things which ICANN would look at. Yes, there needs to be more young voices. It needs to be more inclusive, and there are discussions which are going on in terms of increasing the ICANN's diversity in the accountability tracks. There's much which has been done, but there's more to be done. That's one point. Second, when we are talking about youth not being interested in the subject, we need to understand that if you go and tell them that, okay, let's talk about internet governance, it's not going to matter to anyone. You have to say how it impacts them when they are using their mobiles or surfing internet, what they do, what they are not doing, how it is being captured, whether it's advantages for them, disadvantages, what are the issues which can come from cyberbullying or anything, is something which, the impact of that, if it is explained well, would actually help. Thirdly, there are very few role models to explain it to the youth. And obviously, there are not many adults who can explain it to them. For example, a father would not be able to explain to a child how to use the mobile. They don't even know how to actually restrict, or not restrict, but to train, build up a behavior. So those are things which even the generations ahead needs to, learn. So it's a learning process for everyone, and I agree that people who do have some amount of information, they need to go back to their communities and communicate, and also get issues, and perhaps a forum, which you are kind of looking at, would definitely help in exchanging information, thoughts, and come up with certain best practices which can help.
Yeah, thank you, Amrita. I think we have an online question. Mahi, can you?
Yeah. It's from Brazil. Rakino on he or she asking why youth.
Yeah.
Why youth on the table? Wouldn't that reproduce all models of non-interactive panels as talking heads? How about youth as speakers?
Yeah, Edmund.
Edmund Chung here from .Asia, not trying to answer that question. But of course, we should all try to engage in an open conversation. Picking on what was just mentioned, it's very interesting. My 5-year-old daughter just about a few weeks ago just asked me one very big question: what is the internet? And I was like totally tongue-tied. I was like, what? Okay, how do I answer that? So back on the subject, I think there are three areas. We have been, from .Age, we've been engaged in youth engagement and youth development for 10 years now. And we did a bit of a review this year. And there are three areas very important, and a couple have been mentioned. One is the knowledge. We have to equip young people with the knowledge in order to engage. The other is having a platform for people to actually speak out. Both of them we kind of have now. One of the things that we are missing, and it's a resounding note from young people, is young people seeing what they participate in and seeing the results from it. That's very hard. 20 years ago, actually, when I was still a young person, I guess a youth, starting to participate in internet governance, that was 1999, I was much more able to see what I participate and see the results of it much sooner. So within 3 months, I will see something happen. Within 6 months, I will see something happen. Nowadays, because of all this growth, it's much more difficult. But without seeing the results, without seeing the impact that young people can actually put on certain issues, it's very hard to get them to come back. So that's something we're trying to figure out, and I think others, please help us to. How do we get young people to participate and then see some of that impact in policies, in things that, no matter it's ICANN or other forums, to see that impact, and that's what's going to get people to keep coming back, I think.
Aris here for the record. It's like I'm lucky to be in a position wherein I have to do a curriculum wherein in our institution it's like we integrated some of the IG concepts already, going towards each and every subject and enlightening some of the students of what IG is. And besides that, I also try to bring them to some of the policy sessions and even some some forum or some conferences that that can stimulate their interest. And not only that, but I also tell them to volunteer not only to speak, but to do some of the groundwork, wherein they would be part of the organizing committee, and so on and so forth. So they would see and they would be able to speak to people who are involved in IG more often than not. So it's like, because of that, it sparked their interest. And with that interest, maybe, hopefully, in the future, they would be able to participate more.
Yep. I think taking from the experience from the past year, and I think also with the discussion with mission team in the past, we do think there is some role models or some best practice right now for the youth engagement program, not only on IG but in general, that is quite famous. For example, like the Model UN model. It is a quite successful model that in terms of like branding and also the marketing. All students who know about Model UN, they will be actively engaged in. There's some partnership with different unis and even some chapters in the local areas to doing their own work and sending people to UN somehow to like have a taste of how the discussion is. So I think there's a quite interesting model to take reference on. Right now, I saw in the past few years, we have organized a youth IGF programs all around the world, and it started growing. I saw there is some potential to take reference to both, like, or bring some linkage between those Model UN and also YIGF to make some integration in it, because in terms of brandings, we can cooperate with some schools in the local areas to doing some local engagement projects. But unlike the Model UN seems also just like Model 1 and have a taste on the whole situation. But youth can actually participate in the internet governance discussion. So I do think there is another advantage for those YIGF, I mean, Youth Internet Governance Forum and initiative in the coming future on this kind of area in terms of like branding or real participation, not real, but actual participate in the process. So yeah, my 2 cents.
So I just want to offer like a youth opinion on the points that you guys said. Because it's actually true about the continuity problem and like the volunteer exhaustion.
Yeah.
Because I personally started when I was still in secondary school, and now I'm almost graduating from my undergrad. So it's like you've been doing this, going to conferences, sharing your opinion and your experiences for 4 years, and you start to ask like, where will you see, how will you see your work, have an impact, like what Edmund said, that we want to see what we do as like creating an impact to the community. And like, of course, going to conferences starts conversations. People get to hear our opinions, but how do you take it, further? It's not just, and we don't want to just keep talking and talking, and then there's no action later on. So I think that's also something that young people and also different groups need to think about and collaborate on.
Thank you, Jen. Now, we have a few questions. Please go on.
Thank you so much. I'm Esther from ISOC, Youth at IGF. Thank you for all your amazing stories and the work you're doing. I wanted to give 2 contributions. First of all, I want to say that in this room, the youth we are engaging are mostly those who are already connected and those who already have some information. So those who are disconnected or having problems in their countries with low internet penetration need also to be put on this table. So what we're doing under the Youth at IGF, we've created a project called Digital Grassroots. This is where we work with young people, 29 years and below, to reach local communities where they have internet problems. How we'll do this is by engaging people in communities that have difficult access by having one focal point of contact. So if one person has knowledge on how to use the internet, on how to engage with it to create better policies, they can then educate others in the community who don't have that knowledge. That way, even though these communities are not connected, the one person can educate them so that once the infrastructure starts to come, they'll be up to speed with it. And of course, we're open to engaging with other youth projects. We can meet afterwards. My other contribution was also, Bruna made mention of funding. There is a lack of trust for young people. Like we will see in a multi-stakeholder meeting, when a young person speaks, they take us like, like professional travelers, like we don't know what we're talking about. But really, young people should be taken more seriously because we do know why we're here. And this also translates to the funding process. They expect a young person to have years of experience, but if someone has a good project, there has to be a level of trust to the young person. Thank you so much.
Hi, thank you for your comments about how...
Please say your name for the
Oh, my name is Rohan Daswani, and I just want to thank you for the comment about how getting a result from your actual, like, what you put into is something that's important. And I think that's not only something that's good for youth, but also for adults, of course. But something that I wanted to add was that youth empowerment is something that's very important, as when a youth comes to events like these, they may seem overwhelmed by the atmosphere or like by the knowledge of other people. I mean, just yesterday I was sitting with the president of Switzerland and stuff like that. But the problem is that youth may feel like their contributions may not be as worth it as the contributions of others, as they might not have the knowledge, etc. But I feel like it's important to make youth know that they are one of the main users of this internet, and giving them an idea that they actually matter and their contributions matter is something that's very important, as otherwise they may come to these events but their voices will not be heard. And so giving something for them to speak up about is something that's very important to me. And I just want to hear your thoughts on how we could do that.
Yeah, I'll just like to say a few things. I'd love to share my experience. In 2013, that was my first IGF, though I started involving in the field from 2007, but that was the first IGF that I attended. And when I stood up and when I shared my story, people said I was wrong. People said I was wrong. You are not. These things doesn't happen in our part of the country or in our region. And I stood up there and I said my story that I was attacked for reporting online as a citizen journalism. And there were people. They said as if the issue was not there, right? But I spoke, and the energy, the goodness that I felt, because I stood for change. Literally, when I came out of the room, I felt, I shouldn't have been there. I felt that. It was a huge embarrassment because somebody from a reputed organization stood up and said that. And I didn't, I didn't shallow down. I just went forward. And today I'm here. I'm here with Learn IG. So salute to your efforts. Please do. Please do. People are there. People will support you. It's not just that one discouragement. I'll tell you, Learn IG, with Learn IG, we have tried to approach all the internet organizations. None of them said no, no funding, no nothing. I said, we will do. We will do. We will start. It took us 2 years, 3 years. Now we have documents. We have list of documents. We're working on child online protection. We're working on other issues. So it is not just about being vulnerable or feeling low. It's about seeing the people, matching the interest, networking. These events are for you, the youth. I can understand there are lapses that, within the training programs, we need to improve. We need to understand you, because that's where the problem is, right? So, the leadership is coming. They are realizing certain change is not possible, but things are changing. And when things change, you will be there, we will be there, you know, to secure our rights. So I think I was quite excited. Saeed.
Yeah, hi. My name is Saeed Zazai, and I'm an APSIG Amazon Fellow. I have a question and a suggestion. In terms of the youth engagement programs that we have across different countries, and we all discussed that what are the challenges and what are the approaches and what are the different solutions that worked out in your countries and that didn't work out in your countries, and same perhaps in my country. So I think what I would suggest is that there should be some sort of a database with the support of a major organization, because we have tried doing that on our own, but it kind of doesn't get that support from the individual communities. So a support from a major organization in that region in an online database where some of the leaders could come and discuss some of the issues and challenges and the approaches to that. Things that worked out in my country, perhaps it will not work out in your country, but it will give you an understanding of how to change your approach and how to fix them. Also, in terms of influencing youth and other general public for issues of internet governance, that is a major challenge. When we were doing an internet governance school, a lot of people thought that we are actually going to talk about e-governance or e-government. Well, it didn't take a long time. It took them like 5-10 minutes to realize that this is internet governance, which is directly related to their daily life and things like that. And they were a lot more interested than e-governance. So associating the current political issues, the digital issues, like the policies that the government bring forth, the public services that affects every individual's lives, associating those issues with internet governance or with the seminars or whatever that we are doing in each country, those help a lot in terms of getting the attraction from the either youth or general public, or let's say children or women, the two minority groups that are highly influenced. So aside from that, a couple questions that I have, either one or two questions, is that what platforms or venues did you use in order to, the school that you had, the webinars or seminars or whatever workshops or sessions that you did in your individual countries as in the beginning? By platforms and venues, I mean, did you go out to schools or universities or private businesses or other civil society organizations, and which were more appropriate and who were more kind of eager to listen and want you to come back? And also, what formats did you use? Did you use webinars, remote sessions with other organizations, or did you call a speaker from the other organization like ICANN, APNEC, and or did you have your own expertise available in your local country and use them? Thank you.
Oh, sorry, I called in to answer first. So far, the Youth Observatory, and we've been trying, we have like different fronts, like types of things we're doing. In Brazil, we have some members who have like called some sort of like the Bar Association of Brazil in order to help them go to schools, law schools as well, and teach some stuff on tech and how to protect yourself online and another like interesting topics. Not only going to schools and so, hi, I'm here to talk about internet governance. Some of us are trying to focus on a subject in order to catch the attention and then like get more people involved. Besides that, we have been like, we just organized the second edition of the Youth Like IGF, which is like the youth forum, one day before the Like IGF. This year we did it in Panama, one day before. We have reached out to the venue. We told them like, hi, we're a group of young people, we don't have any money. Can you please give us the venue for free, or at least for a lower price? And this is pretty much what we have been doing. We have been like portraying how much of a starters we are and how much help we need in order to reach out to people. So, and also we don't like restrain from reaching to the private sector. So for the youth like IGF, we have spoken to, I think it was Google and Facebook in order to look for funding, and we got some. So a good thing would be not to restrain yourself to funding possibilities. So like if you don't like the private sector, it's that this should be a problem. You should be able to reach to pretty much everybody because this is a multi-stakeholder arena, so you shouldn't restrain from talking to people.
Yeah, thank you, Bruna. We have a question there from the floor. Please make it short. We have limited time, so we have a presentation here too. So.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Helena, and I'm an ISOC IGF at Youth Fellow. So there's been a lot of great discussion about how the intangible impacts youth can have. But what I've noticed amongst my peers is that a lot of us just aren't interested in learning about internet governance and cybersecurity. And the thing is, we're well aware that there are mics in our phones, we're well aware that Internet of Things is happening and information is being sold. But we're choosing to overlook these little breaches of privacy for the sake of continuing to use the devices and platforms that we want. So what I've noticed is I think there should be more personalized and humanized approaches to initiatives. So my question to the panel really quickly is, what inspired you to become involved in internet governance and why?
I will just answer this because I feel very close to the topic. When we started Learn IG works in three ways. The social media, the forum, we have a Google forum, and we have the content. So with the content, with all the courses, with all the history of internet, somehow, when I started internet governance, I did the Diplo course. And I was kind of, I thought like it would not be that interesting for the youth. So what we did was we developed this, this content, which are very specific. So for people who are interested in internet core values, we have a page for that. So for people who are interested in the current, information or the cyber virus that went around WannaCry or anything. So we have specific contents, and we have, shortlisted the internet governance terminology that will help you to more adapt. So, it can be a variation of how you can work it your way according to your country. If there is any comment regarding that? Yeah.
To answer your question, I went to IG by accident. Actually, it's really accident. But, I was enlightened with the fact that you can really create something. You can create an impact later on, which will really impact the future, and more often than not, the youth. And we concentrated here towards the youth because we know that this youth will be the future leaders of our generation, of the coming generation. So, as more often than not, as an inspiration, youth became an inspiration of mine because I belong to the academia. So, as much as possible, we need to build up the youth in preparation for what is coming.
Yeah, a very short one. Not only for your question, and also I would like to respond for the question from Rohan, mentioned about the impact for youth and also the contribution from youth perspective. Indeed, I was engaged not in internet governance in a very young age, but back to the young age, like the age of 14, I was selected as an ambassador for the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child, which is the child rights stuff. I'm doing some trainings and also participate in those kind of discussion. And I was a major student. I was studying in sociology. It seems it's really unrelated to IG. And luckily, in the past few years, I was work for Asia and supporting the net mission to doing the youth engagement work. That's why I engage in the IG discussion. In a sense, I would like to say this. And now I'm working on a new initiative on the child online protection and those securities issues to doing some promotion, which link back to my previous interest on the children's right issue. And of course, internet is about how the children be engaged and to participate in the process. So I would say from my experience is, don't underestimate the influences of youth. You can still make some changes. When you meet some people in the past few years or in this kind of conference, you can seek for a larger network and And in a sense, you can ask for their opinions on how to move on your things you really engage or really really enjoy. For my interest is on children's rights, but it seems not it really linked to the internet. But I saw a way there's some linkage, so I started the whole thing. So I would say in the way there's in this kind of conference is super awesome experience and super awesome opportunity to meet with other people from other world and also in a high position. You can ask for their opinions and even ask for their help. Some days things will be connected somehow. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Yeah.
So I was also a youth at IGF fellow last year as well, and I started. And I also started my IGF journey when I was in secondary school by joining a competition, and I didn't know anything about internet governance actually, but my two teammates were studying ICT, and for me, I was studying literature, and we had to do a research report. So what we did was just combine our interest, and because of that, we were able to go to the IGF in Bali that time, and that was also the start of how I got involved in internet governance. And later on, I also organized the YIGF. So, I think going to these kind of conferences helps you to meet people who are interested to help you, give you, or provide you a platform that you can use later on in the future. And like what David said, maybe start your own initiative later on.
Thank you, Jian. Now we have a small presentation from Mahi.
Yeah, this is regarding Sri Lankan perspective, why we need people, and this answers the question that raised online from Brazil. This is the Sri Lankan perspective. I'm Maheshwar Kirtinagoda, ISOC secretary, ISOC Sri Lanka chapter secretary, and the one who coordinated the IGF Sri Lanka and Youth IGF and SIG Sri Lanka and Learn IG, worked with the Learn IG. Okay. So first of all, there is the definition from the United Nations. They define youth is the best understood as a period of transition from the dependence of childhood to adulthood independence. In Sri Lankan government definition, Sri Lanka defines youth as between 15 to 29 years old people. Okay. Is it true for all the countries? Is it all true? No, it's fluid. The definition is fluid because it depends on the culture and the social backgrounds of this society and those communities even, not in the countries even. So who are youth? We have millennials, we have Generation Y, we have Generation Z. There are about 1.5 billion people who to be considered as youths. So it's nice to read this reading why recent global uprising are led by youth. So this will answer why we need youth on the table in the policy decisions. So youth uprises. In the recent global youth uprises, we can see that youth are its movers, mainly within the Occupy Wall Street, Spanish indigenous, and Egyptian Woke Us Up. So, and with not only these are international ones. Sri Lanka has major two things that I'm going to discuss now. But before that, we need to hear something good, something sweet. Focal point on youth, which is a United Nations program on youth, is fall under the United Nations Department of Economic and Social Affairs, which is normally we call UNDESA, which is the same department IGF falls under. So it's better that we know that there is a combination in between the departments, so where we can reach these departments very easily as IGF fellows. So these are the typical characteristics of a youth. You may know because you almost here are youths and who just passed the youth like us. Okay, they have love to test. and they have certain limits. They have an attitude, they think they know all, and they like to face challenges. They are vulnerable, emotionally insecure, fear of rejection, and their moods are swaying. Often project competence while lacking full ability. Identify with admired adult, or often rejects adults in exchange for friends. So these are some characteristics. These are not the all, but we have to identify these characteristics of youth by physical, social, emotional, and mental characteristics before we are going into them. So in 1971 and 1988, we had two uprisings of youth. Even though this has been identified as political uprisings, these are led by youth. The unfortunate thing, we lost more than 2,000, which is being noted, but there are a lot more youth were died in these things. We do not want to talk into these tolls, these numbers. This is because as what we all know, we need is a harmonious society. We need to live in harmony. We had a situation of 3-decade war in our country. My whole youth was under that period. So it's hard. So we don't need such situations back again. So we need to identify what are the reasons and why the youth uprisings are coming on. So first, they identify as youth unemployment, which causes depression, frustration, loss of hopes among youth. And post-independence, unequal distribution of resources within our country. This is related to our country. I believe it's not it's similar to most of the colonial countries. Differentiation of education, class disparity emerging due to the political national policies. Issues on languages, because our country have 2 major languages rather than English, Sinhala and Tamil. So there was an issue on languages. Limited or unlimited zero inclusiveness of youth in the policy developments. In 1976, while creating the constitution, there was a panel and youth were included, but their inputs were not taken into the making of the policy or the constitution. So this made the uprising of the youth in the 80s. So while we are categorizing these reasons under knowledge, education, economic, and social needs, we have to address these issues. We are in an era of information. Today we call it a digital era. We have an Internet Governance Forum where it creates a platform to people to come here, come to share their opinions, share identity, and analyze and action on the issues they identify. In the information era, most values is information or knowledge. People should have the opportunity to learn, to get educated, so the future is more vulnerable. The most vulnerable community is youth. Again, Amanda Lenhart, who did the research within the developed country, 24% teens go online almost constantly. That means they have smartphones in their hands. So they are almost connected. So the Learn IG research and the Lenhart's research shows the trend, what the youth are going on. So they should come into the IG arena. So they should know this, knowledgeable on internet governance. Otherwise, there will be a big problem because another uprisings can arise. So today's or the 12th session of Internet Governance Forum, the topic is shape your digital future. So I just like to define this is not for the old people. We have to shape this internet for the future generations. Can we do it without youth? The answer is no. So what we have to do, we have to educate, we have to support them come to this floor, to this table. So learn IG does this thing. And the specialty behind this, the people who behind this initiative is learned from their hearts, who learned by their experiences, and they know what they felt in the future, in the past. So they are making the future, and they invite you to go into the Learn IG platform. Thank you.
Thank you, Mahi, for that presentation. Now, I would like to highlight the issues that a few of us have raised in terms of, how we should get the new age people start talking to the about internet governance. How are we going to do that? Because that's a major case. Grassroots initiatives is all about people like you, me, fellows. We come to all these events, we go back, and we do nothing. So that is something where the problem is. If we could coordinate, just the way it is possible, and we need to be, we need to talk around these topics. And as they said, volunteering is an option. You start by volunteering. The work that you do is very passionate. It's something like you're bringing change. You are standing for something that is right. So I would like to further talk about, for starting new initiatives. What are the challenges, or, if there are any stories that you have when you started it, those are the things that are going to motivate you. So, I would love to hear something from David or Aris about this, like, is there any story or any experience or any challenges that specifically targets grassroots level initiatives, and how you're going to reach out to the youth? Because a lot of people have said that, there is a problem for youth to understand the whole thing. So why is there a problem?
So, with regards to our case, after APR IGF, after YIGF, the students were very adamant in organizing an event, and we have done it for 2 years in a row now, wherein they were bringing in people, more particularly university students, to know more about IG. It's a very simple thing. It's a simple forum, wherein we invited speakers with different backgrounds with regards to some of the IG topics that are out there. For example, security, digital literacy, and so on and so forth. So we're doing it 2 years in a row now. We're going now on our 3rd year, and those students who attended the event are the ones who are organizing it. They're the ones who facilitating everything from getting funding from the private sector and help coming from the government and some other non-profit organizations. Another thing is that currently they are now starting to create a digital literacy project, and it's more on training the ones who are in the rural areas, and they started it with one of the schools which are quite near to us, and they do lack the equipments and some of the facilities that needed to be implemented in order for them to be able to have that training. But they provided as such. They asked for help for some private people and private institutions to lend them a hand as a start. And because we really lack funding, we don't have anything actually. So with that, they were able to facilitate training. More often than not, it's more based on open source, because we really cannot afford such proprietary software. But open source, they installed it among themselves, and they created all the materials and conducted the training among themselves. So,
and regarding my experience, I would like to share two pieces of experience on a different area. For the initiative I'm working on right now is about to build a child online safety internet based in Hong Kong to like tackle those abusive content like child pornographies and inappropriate content. I guess one of the main resources we lack of is always funding. So on this sense, the group is trying to reach out to those traditional NGO, the INGO, like Save the Children, to get a support on the funding issue to run the whole initiative. So it's not just limited to the industry of internet, but you can just back to those traditional INGOs to getting for some support. So there's one sense. For the other hand is because for the online issue is not just tackled by one party. So we are trying to engage different stakeholders to tackle the problems online for the child porn issues. For example, we have support from Asia and also some local communities, the ISPs, the police force, to join hands to tackle the problems. So I do think there's some linkage to bringing different stakeholders to join on the table to solve the problems in terms of like financial or even technical support and also some knowledge sharings and because like there's in-hope network in the sense of providing some trainings on how we can deal with the situation. So I do think it is one of the way based on my experience. And I would say on the other experience we'd like to share because Jens have already left. This is the initiative mainly by NetMission. On that, NetMission have organized the Youth IGF alongside with the APR IGF as a very core part of the program. To engage in the whole program because Youth IGF and in the Asia Pacific region, this is a 3 days camp for capacity building, but not just for capacity building, like doing some role play. They will also attend those APR IGF sessions. In this sense, is like real participation and also learning some knowledge on how the IG is. So I would say this is the start. But it's not just end there. In these few years, we were engaging more, we are encouraging more youth of the region to doing their own local YIGF. For example, in Hong Kong, because NetMission is based in Hong Kong, they're trying to doing the Hong Kong YIGF in a sense to like engaging the community. How to do so is because funding is also a very strong issue on this sense. I would like to see some support from the big company like Microsoft to support the first year of the establishment of the program. So I would say thing is not just in one point. Is more important is how to find some resources and find some partnership in the sense to make things go forward. Yeah, thank you.
Mahi, do you have any ideas or like you want to share anything?
Yeah. As the ISOC Sri Lanka chapter, we did many projects regarding youth. Especially last year, we have conducted the first youth IGF. It was not actually a discussion forum. It was a session for youth to discuss their matters in an open platform. They discussed rather than IG matters because we want to make them share their stories. So this is the first step that we had taken for the youth as the Youth IGF in Sri Lanka. So before that, we had many programs, especially regarding the safer internet camps. These are more interactive sessions where you can see online, if you check the Facebook, typing safer internet camps Sri Lanka. So these camps were interactive things where that we discussed regarding more IG issues rather than just talking about safer problems that we are discussing in a much higher level. So the people who shared their thoughts are very different than we thought. In the Youth IGF, one fellow just came in. He asked us, why you invite us? Because we don't have internet even. So he's actually from North Central province of Sri Lanka, where they do not have internet, even 2G. So that was a proper question to be asked in the IGF, because the people who were as the observers, they should answer these questions. So they may not know that there is a problem in that areas and these youth things. So internet addiction is a major crisis in Sri Lanka at the moment because most of the youth are not aware of that they are being addicted to internet. So at the moment we are having big camps, big medical camps and training workshops on internet addiction. I better that we have to be collaborate and we can create the content for these things even, where Learn can help us in these things. Thank you.
Yeah, now I have a question for you all. That, you know, there are like so many fellowships that are going on. You know, there are people from Africa, there are people from Asia, Europe. Why is it that the fellowships are not coming up? Let me be very specific. In Asia, a lot of the times, the fellowships are not circulated, right? It remains within a certain group of people. They don't share it, and it's very limited within the reach. Yeah, sure.
Hello, good morning, everyone. My name is Ufa. I'm Internet Society's Youth at IGF Fellow. Regarding what you just said, okay, mostly in developing countries, we find out that there's really little or no internet access. There are really so many issues relating to internet governance in developing countries. And most of these times, we find out that the solution to these problems is because there's little or no awareness to internet governance in developing countries. I'm from Nigeria, and I'm sad to say that internet governance in Nigeria is very, very low. Like most youth my age do not know what internet governance is at all, and it's a shame. Most people just get their phone and they know, okay, I can browse. They have no idea of the bureaucracy involved in internet governance, and that's really, really sad. So I feel that these fellowships, they are aimed at getting more youth from developing countries to be more involved in internet governance processes. And at the same time, it's just, let me just say, it's almost as if that these youth are now most of the time from these regions, because these are the developing countries that, let's say, need this kind of fellowships to form and in an effort to boost inclusion globally. Thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Noha. I'm from Egypt. I'm a youth at IGF fellow as well. Well, I didn't know anything about IG or IGF before applying to the fellowship, although I'm working in the IT field. And I considered this as a huge opportunity for me. We had two selection processes, the online application, and then we joined an online course to get introduced to what is IG and what's the multi-stakeholder approach. And we were engaged in conversations, debates, and I really appreciate joining this experience. I really need recommendations regarding encouraging all stakeholders to nominate youth. Like government should nominate its youth to join the IGF, private sector as well, and also how to encourage more IG schools, local or regional IG schools, and to be more frequent, not only once a year. And I need recommendations about how to maximize our benefits from our first IGF.
Yeah. Answer that, you know, like you could really use the capacity resource that you have. You can write a blog, you can start a forum, talk about the issues, you know, get it starting, don't stop. Yes, so don't stop, like, you know, whatever you could do, just engage in proper communication. Yeah.
I just have a point here. It's not that all the fellowships, etc., is not known to us. Even in Global South, we do get information, if it's the ISOC, if it's the ICANN, NextGen. However, these are not the only ones. There could be more for the youth, because the amount of scope, or if you're looking at the region-wise, the allocations might not be very just, looking at the kind of people you have. For example, APAC might have more people than Europe. It might not be so much distributed. However, it's incorrect to say we do not get information. We do get information. If there could be more fellowships and opportunities, it would be better.
Continuing on the same topic, I think that there are certain situations where the representatives of these countries, the information about the fellowship that comes onto them, it stays with them. So that's one thing that we need to address, and who is the best institution to address that is probably the fellowship provider. I would certainly push onto them to make sure that there's a level of transparency in terms of the fellowship announcement that goes on to them, that they make sure that it goes further into the community. And also things that lady mentioned about the local efforts. We need to make sure that the representatives are doing some kind of activities at the local level. Otherwise, if we are defining other matrices for the performance evaluation, then like tweets and pictures that comes onto Facebook and social media, those are not really good matrices of evaluating individuals' performance in the country that there are.
I think someone was there. Yeah.
Hi, this is Irene. I'm from Bangladesh. I'm a IGF Academy Fellow. Here, one concern I have noticed that lot of us are saying that it is very difficult to draw the attention of youths to IG or like that. But how I feel actually that rather we need to draw their attention to IG instead of we need to understand their interest of area. Then we need to bridge them those interests to IG. Let's say I work on citizen journalism in my area, in my country, and also I work on the Save the River campaign as well. So we involved a lot of youths in our campaign in citizen journalism and Save the River campaign through the citizen science. So those are the interest area of the youths in our country, and once we understand their interest and their body language and their mind setup, then it will be easier for us to relate them with IG, with technological discussion or the facilities and maybe fellowship and funding as well. So this can be one approach from us towards the youth. This is one thing. And also second thing, I may like to take some advice and comments from this forum, that if I want to form youth IGF in my country, what would be the process and other things I need to go through if I am interested in that. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Actually, for the
David, just make it short. We are out
okay.
of time. Yeah.
Actually, from Lab Mission team, they have drawing some training materials online. Is mainly on how they can you guys can organize the youth IGF. I can share with you later on that area, and also talk to Anya. Anya is the IGF secretary. She's mainly focused on those area of youth IGF. So there is another session on tomorrow morning 8:30. So you better can join and also have a look on that.
Yeah, let me inform you. There is a toolkit. There is a toolkit about youth IGF. So you can search it on web and you can find it, and everything, the process is written. The people were involved, the experts were involved, and there is a toolkit. So that's for facilitation. And Anya is the contact person. Yeah. You can put it yes, and thank you all for being here. I think we have reached our time. It was really interesting talking to you all, hearing your voices, stories. We can collaborate. The IG forum itself is for us, for the developing nation and the developed nation. We have to collaborate because internet itself is very dynamic, and we need to bridge the gaps, and we need to move forward for development and growth. So thank you all for being here. Please do, if you want to receive the report of the survey, please do give me your email. Paper was circulating around, so you should have it. Yeah, thank you. Thank you all.
We plan to start in about 1 minute.